Hey there guys, welcome back to another video. It has been a while since I have made anything, and I am going to quite a quick shout out to Zega, who actually kind of gave me the hint, and obviously using the website he did as well. So completely appreciate obviously that I am copying the idea, but I've kind of wanted to do stuff like this for quite a while now because there's kind of a difference of what's the best profession in the game. Now, with this, on the top right, there's going to be a link to his video regarding implants tier list. Obviously, that's something if you are interested to double check. But for this one, what I'm going to be doing is a profession tier list instead. Now, there is 34 different professions in the game, and they're broken up into 4 different areas: production, service, stat boost, and roleplaying. So we will go for through an entire list here of what one is the better one. There can only be one S class per per obviously cat type. So we will jump straight into this. Now, bear in mind, this is all my personal opinion. These are what the better classes, in my opinion, are. Now, there are some redundant classes in this, or I say classes, professions, and you'll see what ones I'm kind of meaning when we go through this. So the very first one we've got here is farmer. So we'll go down, and as you can see here, we've got farmer here. So they start with a mini 41 rifle, extra 250, and creates food on a daily basis. You can see the list of stuff they can make, including fresh herbs and fresh coffee grounds. Now they can be very good to pick up at a late stage, but obviously you kind of got a less chance actually getting that until you get to level 100. So these are a bit different. So the thing you need to think about as well with production classes is they have a specific mastery to increase the time when they can produce food, meds, or weapons, or anything along those lines. And I think Farmer kind of is one of those ones that doesn't specifically fall in a good space right now in terms of Death Frontier because of the kind of amount of stuff you are able to get around the game, really. Food is one of the least viable options, and for that, I think that's where the downfall for this comes in. See if it was before the food buff, I think these would have been very strong for what they are, but at this rate, I think they are a B tier for this. Then we have scientists, so they produce, excuse me, meds basically. Now, the only noticeable things here is Neurotonin 5A, cognitive stims, and adrenaline. Now, cognitive stims and adrenaline can be marketed for quite a lot as well. The only downside when you start off with this class is you don't actually get any additional weapons, like Farmer. Um, Same amount of money, and they can create these medications that, again, in the game, this kind of falls out in line with that. So what I'm probably going to say is they might still be really good just based on the Neoton 5A, because in the past that was one of the best healing and one of the most marketable at the same time. But with how it is, it's with the whole kind of difference of obviously the before and after the mechanism change, I would probably say they are an A tier at this stage. Once we go through the rest of these um, classes, I think the production classes will find an S tier. The next one we got here is the crafting. So I've never played the crafting yet, but they seem to have no real actual function in the game. Yes, they start with $250, claw hammer, and they create their own craftable items in that sense. So they could make a barricade as soon as they spawn in. This is kinda a null point. I don't see anything worth picking up here. So from a level 100 plus, you get rare fabric. That isn't even that great. You can loot a trench coat in Raven Ridge, Death Row, and that's it. That's you get your rare fabric. The rest of this is kinda eh. It would be different if they had, for example, rare um, scrap metal after level 100 kind of thing. That would be a different kind of scenario. But I think just for the way it's set up, I think these are actually again F tier. Like it's a failure of a class. I would never recommend it to anyone. Going by the stuff it actually produces. Um, then we have the weaponsmith. Now I actually have one for this, and it's it's just the same as the craftsman. Really, you create weapons depending on what level you are. You just get a 250 bonus of cash to start with, and the weapons you loot differ depending on obviously in each state depending on obviously your level, and you only make one of them per day. I don't regret making a class just to find this out, so you can see it on your end. There we go. But I would begrudge anyone picking this. So I think the weaponsmith is also an F class. So with that, because we've just finished the production service classes there, out of all these, I think scientist would take the A, the S tier. Scientists produce the better kind of stimulation, like boosts basically. The market for medication is medication for meds and such is bigger than it is for food. Obviously, 8B neonatal is easily lootable, but you get your 5A, which is only accessible from death row, and they're not even a common loot either. So I would probably say they get the edge over the other production classes in this stage. We are now moving on to the service classes. So these include the doctors, chefs, and the engineers. So for doctors, you start with a 250, and you start with an adrenaline. Adrenaline obviously is some sort of meds as well. They can also administer health, like 8B neoton plasters for Christ's sake, as a way to kind of buff the healing capacity of them all. Um, the other thing of obviously the chefs and the doctors is they actually get a better rap for the mastering specific for production classes and service classes. So I would probably put a doctor, maybe a B tier or A. I would say A. Like, I would say they are actually a decent class to pick up, especially if you are wanting just to make sure you're going to be fully healed. Obviously, when you get in a critical state, you can't heal anyone, but I think they can still be strong in that sense. The next we got here is the chef. The chef obviously cooks specific foods that will have the option to cook them. So, for example, dried truffles, quinoa, fresh meat, burgers in the past, or cherry pie. They used to be able to cook that. Now they start with an actual weapon, which is a chef knife, and it's actually one of the more sought after weapons I would always go for when I used to start an account. Same kind of thing. They have a $250 amount to start with, and they have a chef knife as well. I already said that, but yeah, I would. They also have the same kind of thing in regards to the mastery as well. So that would kind of put them maybe on the same edge as A tier, because if you think about it, in a sense, they do cook a lot of the food for these classes anyway. Then we have the engineer. Now, the engineer is a bit more interesting. I'm just going to double check something because yeah. So for both the doctor and chef, I just realised we lose 8 hit hunger points per use, but for engineers it's 10 as well. So that's a bit of a big thing there. So engineers are kind of the same. Service class, they could repair armor. So engineers are more of the bread and butter of the frontier of any marketplace within the zones. They will repair armors up to the set amount. So, for example, level 5 can repair sports armor, wooden armor, and beyond that can repair God knows everything. I would say engineers are quite a more of a niche area as well. A lot of people will go them, but at the same time, you'll be finding it a bit difficult to dominate that kind of area of the service industry. They kind of get a bad rap for the masteries as well. So, for example, my main is a engineer for my clan, and we only get like 1 XP per usage, which is quite a dull advent of it all. But they are one of the more used ones in the industry as well. But so it's kind of hard to specifically say this, but I think engineers are a B tier. Reason for that is because of how the amount of engineers you get in the game. It is such a difficult area to get into, and I would probably not even attempt to really get into it these days. I would probably shift off elsewhere. But with that being said, I'm actually thinking chefs get S tier. Now, the reason for that, chefs actually kind of dominate the mastery part of this, as well as the food end of the service industry, or the industry itself. The reason for that is because they cook the food for every single one of these guys, and without the food, they can't do the services. So you can make a level 75 chef, sit them in wastelands or whatever, get people to cook, and you'll make bank. So I think they are the better ones, and the simple fact they do start off with a chef knife, I mean that's a free boost, right there basically. Um, the next stuff we've got here is the stat classes. So this is going to be one of the ones that's going to be a lot more difficult to kind of engage. So I'm going to leave the stat classes until the end because that's the more interesting ones to do. Um, we've got role playing classes now. This is going to sound very typical, but most of these classes for roleplay are completely redundant and they don't really mean much in the long run. So we'll just go through these quickly. So teacher, 30% XP. C, priest. Get one thing it gets is 30% XP again. Priest as well. C, lawyer. I'm going to bump to B simply because you get money with it. Accountant, B as well. Journalist, I'm actually put it at C because you're not getting actually much from it. So let me just see. So in fact, accountant, go back down. Actor, again C. Stockbroker is when I in my very first class, so I would put them as B's, bit of bias. Architect, um, again, I'm going to say C. Entertainer, C. Artist, C. Student. That is something that's worth discussing. So as you can see, students actually get a bit of a bonus here. Now they get minus XP, which is understandable, but they actually get a bonus in both in strength, agility, and endurance. Now that's kind of big in terms of a role-playing class. You still get the XP, but you get the better buff from it. So I'm probably going to put them at an A because even though they don't have a money kind of thing there, they still getting a buff. They're still getting good stats, and I think that works really well. Then we've got the musician, which also has 30% XP and a 30%, 30, not 30%, 30 plus in dexterity with melee weapon damage being increased. Now, with that, I'm probably going to put them in an A as well. So the question is, what one of the is a student or a musician better? Now that's going to be a lot harder to determine because the dexterity is really good, but you do get the minus 20%. You do get the 20% XP buff, but the student has minor buffs here as well. Um, I think for the long run, stat wise as well, I think musician gets the S tier here, just purely on that. Now with that, becomes a fun part that not a lot of people are going to agree with. But obviously nobody's going to agree with any of this. This is obviously my personal opinion. But we have the fireman. So fireman, you get 20 plus endurance and 10 melee skill. You also get a damaged fire axe, which is an alternative start to weapon, and you get 30% melee weapon increase as well, which for a beginner is really good. I quite like fireman class because versatility there with the damage as well as the endurance, which makes your life a lot easier when you're running about in the city. For that, I'll probably put fireman at A tier. Like in the long scheme of things, we're not going to use melee, but it is such a good class, purely because of that, for my opinion. The next one we have is the boxer, which has 5 endurance, 5 critical hit, 15 dexterity, and 5 melee skills, and they have a 20% melee damage, a weapon damage increase, and a 15 damage reduction. Now, I've never played the boxer class, but that sounds very good. Gives you a bit more versatility, and right off the bat, you have a 10 melee skill there as well. So I would say that's an A tier as well. Then we have the landscaper. Now, this one I've never used at the same time, but you get a five plus a plus 5 strength, agility, endurance, and you get 10 melee skill and starts with a chainsaw with immolate weapon damage and chainsaw weapon damage both at 20%. Now that is a very strong start to have, and I think when you start a new account, you are kind of wanting to go straight for a chainsaw anyway. It will just make your life so much easier. Um, as you've seen, obviously in the new player guide, which you can see at the top right. So that is quite a strong start for a new player. At endgame kind of thing, I think it could work out well because right now I'm currently using my Dawn Saw as well when I'm doing grind for mastery, and I think it's one of the best kind of weapons I've ever had and the most fun I've had. So the chainsaw damage would be a plus. The weapon melee weapon damage that's still good, especially because obviously early on it will be good to just invest in melee. So for that I think A tier for that as well. So the next one we have is the lumberjack, and again this is a lot of these are very strong for the role playing, not role playing, the stat based class. Like all of these are I've got so much perks, and I think most of them end up in A tier anyway. But we need to get if I a definite best. So lumberjack, so 10 strength, 10 critical hit, 5 endurance, and 5 melee skill with a chainsaw as well. 20% melee chainsaw damage and the 15% income damage. So again, kind of your boxer of this. I will just place him at B as well. A. And to be honest, I think you're quite strong for that. Although then again, in the long run, I think actually lumberjack, boxer, fireman, and landscaper. Actually, I'm going to move into B. The reason being is because there is better classes coming up, and I can't have too much of a bigger expectation here. And the very next one is one of those ones, the investigator, which has a 25 increase in stealth, which is now survival, and 5 pistol skills. So you get a 20% pistol weapon damage, 20% loot speed, 10% miscellaneous find chance, and a 5% loot spot count. Um, for the long run for looting kind of thing, I would say this is one of the strongest ones you can use, especially for that 5% loot count spot, because we don't have any other masteries or any other way to boost that. I think this is one of the more crucial ones for it, and it works really well for a looting comp as well. So for that one specifically, I'm going to put an A, I think. The next one we have here is Police Officer, which starts with 10 accuracy, 10 pistol skills, and a shotgun with 5 reloading. And you actually start with a shotgun as well, Mancini M1. You get 15% damage and pistol and shotguns, which is very strong. I would say this is actually a really good class to start with. It's got an A tier. It's a very good class at endgame as well, because if you think about it, you're either going to spec into rifles or pistols, and given like both those cassettes have a weapon that basically always crits, that is a very strong deal to start with. And because you've obviously got that shotgun cast speculation into it, shotguns are one of the best ones to grind with. They're the best return on ammo cost as well, so I'd probably say that is the better case here for that. The next thing you've got is guard, and they have 5 plus agility, 5 accuracy, and 20 dexterity. They also get a 30% pistol weapon damage as well. I would not say they are very versatile in terms of what they are. I don't know. I don't really think the pistol damage is exactly worth jumping straight into. I think you can want more of a versatility if anything. But for that, I'm going to put them in B tier. Next one is a hunter. 15% accuracy, 10 stealth slash survival, and 10 rifle. And I start with a rifle, the RX4, which takes 5.57 ember, and they are quite rare around the certain area, and they do die off pretty easily when you get to 4 star with a 30% rifle weapon damage. Um, for me, I wouldn't say this would be the best kind of weapon to have or best kind of start. For me, I am specking. I've specced into every single weapon. Really, I'm maining the Mag Storm, so that 30% rifle weapon damage would be cool, but it would be overkill if, in that sense, for myself. For other rifles, it'd be kind of overkill as well. You would probably get away with just running around with a war carbine and getting a bit there, but I would probably say the hunter is a B tier as well. B tier as well. Uh, Next one here is survivalist. Now the survivalist is a little bit more of an interesting one. So 5 in strength, agility, endurance, and 10 shotgun. Again, starts for shotgun as well, and they have a 25% damage boost in shotgun and 5 damage incoming damage reduction. Um, I would say these are actually a B tier as well. They're not very good in the long run. Obviously, you do have the versatility of specking straight into shotgun, and that's you're kind of golden. But I feel as if that would be a waste, and I feel as if a police officer is actually a better one to go for here. So what I'm going to do, survivalist, is actually going to go in B tier as well. Um, yeah, I think it's kind of better one. What I'm going to do is priest, teacher, and artist. In fact, my priest and teacher is going to get moved to F tier here, I think. Um, Next one as well, SWAT. Now this one is a bit one I want it to be up in the air for me as well. So you get the 5%, 5 in accuracy, 5 in dexterity, 10 in critical, and 10 machine gun skills, and you start with a Scorpion SMG with a 30% bonus and SMG there as well. Now in the long run, this could be strong, especially if using SMGs. However, what I found is being at the end game of game and higher levels, I don't actually use SMGs. They are one of the most hated ones to use, and the only good one we have in the game is a Marauder, 55 as well. So I feel as if this is quite a letdown class for what it cast specs into. Um, it's still on par with the other classes with the damage boosts. I just think it's not good enough. Um, Next one we have here now. This is going to be a bit of an unpopular choice for a lot of people, I think, but I'll explain my reason why specifically. So this has a negative XP penalty. You get plus 5 in strength and plus 10 in accuracy, endurance, and reloading, and machine gun skill. You start with an M16, and you also get a 30% plus machine gun damage increase. Now, this is going to be a bit of a controversial one because in the past, this used to be your go-to class. Yes, the XP penalty was quite dire, and a lot of people would probably recommend against it. However, for the long run of start to finish, what you'll find is you will end up specking into more likely a machine gun, and if you have money for it, you will buy yourself unlimited or unlimited Wraith Cannon, and that 30% machine gun damage does make a lot of difference, especially early on. Even if you don't spec into the Wraith Cannon, you will end up going for a Hyper Coil, which is the best submachine gun to kind of grind with for a master as well. So what I would probably recommend is this one going at A tier. Now, the reason why I'm putting it at A tier is because the buffs and the increased stats as well as a buff. I know that XP penalty is horrendous for some, but you can kind of offset it pretty easily. As soon as you start the game, you get to level 15, that's 10%. In fact, it's not 10%. You can you verify with code, that's 10% there. You buy fresh herbs, that's another 50% hop fat, so you're kind of okay at 30% increase on that end. Um, yeah, I think there could be it is a strong enough class to work with on this. The next one we have here is the Grenadier. So, Grenadier starts with plus 10 accuracy, reload, and explosion skills. It actually starts with a grenade launcher as well, with 30% damage increase. Now, I am using grenades, and I feel as if they are probably the most versatile thing in this game. They can deal with hordes quite easily, they pack a lot of punch, you don't need to go into critical. I think they actually have a lot more versatility than other classes, given the nature of Dead Frontier and how you can handle hordes behind walls and such. And grenades have had that revamp. In the past, I would have probably put them this about B tier anyway, or well C tier in the past. But I think Grenadier actually could be quite an optimal kind of route to go down regardless of your kind of decisions. Purely because of the amount of damage it can do with one shot. The next one we have here is Criminal. Now, have I messed up already? Hold on. Yeah, so Investigator, get moved to B tier. This one, I'm putting at A tier. I'll explain why. So, that's my fault, I messed it up. So, 10 in agility, 5 crit, 5 survival, and 10 melee, and you get damage iron pipe, so it's a better start for most. You get a 20% increase in search speed, 30% cash find, and 10% in item find chance, which is massive, like I said, for the investigator. You don't actually get any kind of increase for that, and that's very strong, I think, in my opinion. So there you go, that goes into my A tier. Now we have one of my most favourite classes in the game. So you have the Scavenger, which has 15 agility and 15 survival stealth. Their boost is 75% ammunition find chance and 15 of weapon and armor. Now, for loot competition as well, this could be strong early on if you can't afford the kind of seasonal implants that also make a kind of appearance. This is quite a versatile for any age or any area because it gives that boost is so crucial to make money at any stage, especially if that weapon ammo find chance, which is 75%, which is massive in my opinion. So for that, I I'm kind of stuck between A or B tier because of how the other car classes work. This is kind of in line with that, but because obviously there's personal bias there, I'm trying to think if I'm going to use that personal bias. And I'm not. No, it's B tier. And the last but not least, it is the athlete. Now, the athlete, self-explanatory. You get bigger agility, bonus of 25%, and you get 15 movement speed, which is quite a big thing, I think. Um, yeah, it's just obviously that, so it's not exactly if it's the best thing, because you can start off with going into the game, you have 15% speed, so it's quite good for that aspect. Then you get another 10% immediately after level 15, and that's pretty much it. So you're stuck at a base level 25. So you're not. It'll be 30% because you get 5% from speed, from no armor anyway. Um, I would say this is a B tier, and honestly, it's not exactly the best kind of one there. But at the same time, I think it's still very good for what it is. It's still usable. But yeah, with that being said, we are now kind of done with the placement for these. We need to find the next tier here, and it's between police officer, soldier, and grenadier, and criminal. Um, right, so police officer gets a mixture of a buff there. Could be very good for the long run. Um, soldier gets a lot of good stats, and endgame wise, it could work out decently, but that XP penalty is quite massive for what it is. Grenadier is quite versatile, and criminal obviously you get that kind of unique kind of look there. Um, it's a difficult one to kind of decide because depending on what aspect you play, say for example, if you are a somebody that likes to grind the bosses, bandits, PvP, you would definitely go for the police officer for that. That would be your best bet to kind of go for. But if you're a criminal, you'd be a looter, and you kind of want to get all the chances you can. And the irony's not lost on me on the fact my final decisions between police officer and criminal here. Um, if I could make it like a difference of obviously these guys, you could have the option of an extra 5 in S tier here. So it'd be your production, your service, your role playing class, your um, action classes, your passive classes, or something like that, looting classes. I basically keep saying classes. I would totally put on these two on there, but I think purely because of the setup on this 10 5 10 10 10 5 5 10. I think I'm gonna need to put the criminal up here. And this may contain a bit of bias, and I do apologise for it. But basically, for the criminal, when you start the game, you will have an extra weapon there. Fantastic, that's fine. You can go through the game and build your character up and get those weapons, you can get those buffs from just grinding. Obviously, if you've done the same for a police officer, you'll have that extra damage of an extra 30% on both. But I think purely because the item find chance here is 10%, there's no way for us to increase that. Early on, you will be struggling anyway to get from A to B as well. It's the same kind of scenario. In the long run, if you're wanting to make money from a game, I say from a game, sorry, in the game, criminal is your best bet. If you want to grind and such, sure, police officer will be your the next best bet. But I think optimize on an optimized basis, criminal is the one that takes the edge for me purely because of that 10%. Right, to get me around the R booster, you can get elsewhere easily, but it's that 10% of a unique boost that can make it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote, guys. We've got quite a lot here. We've got 34. Yeah, 34 classes here. So we'll start from F tier, work our way up. So from F tier, we have craftsman, weaponsmith, priest, and teacher. C tier, journalist, accountant, actor, architect, entertainer, and artist. B tier, we have farmer, engineer, lawyer, SWAT, investigator, survivalist, athlete, scavenger, broker, stockbroker, obviously, some typo, landscaper, fireman, lumberjack, boxer, hunter, and guard. A tier is doctor, student, police officer, soldier, and grenadier. And in S tier, it's scientist, chef, musician, and criminal. So if you're looking to kind of go through any of the classes that would be more optimal for yourselves, um, you have it here. If the only, like I said, the only caveat is I could argue police officer should be in S tier as well, but because of my ruling, it only can be one. You know what? Put it in here for the end of the video. If they do, it deserves to be an S tier, but as A tier going by the video. But in that top row, if you're deciding to make a new account for this game, or if you're looking to join this game, pick one of these five: scientist, chef, musician, criminal, or police officer. They are your five best, and the reason for that, like I said, so I'll give you the reasons why. Police officer, one of the best for grinding, optimizing your loot build, weapons you use anyway. You have for extra damage in both pistol and shotgun, and you do get good boosts. What's it called again? Stat boosts as well. Criminal is your best bet for specific kind of boost that you cannot increase anywhere else. It's good for a looting comp and will do you throughout your adventure within Down Frontier or Fairview as well. Musician, now this was good because of obviously the, just look it up again. This is good because of obviously the dexterity bonus alone, and you do get the increase in melee, so that kind of makes your life a bit easier. And with the dexterity boost, now stats, you will hit quicker as well. The chef dominates the market of the service industry because it cooks all the food all over. You get a better return on your masteries XP as well, and they are just more suited for this as well. Scientist, again, because of the specific stuff it makes, with Neotonin 5A, the cognitive stims, and adrenaline, they are massive in my opinion. Especially with 5A, because you won't get that anywhere else apart from being death row. So that's what makes that such a vital cast thing to put there. But like I said, because of how this has worked out, police officer will need to go in here because it's an A tier. It totally does deserve S tier if there wasn't that open there. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys used it. Use this. If I can share this in the description, I will. People can use it as a reference point. And yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. It's a long video, but it's going to be one of those ones anyway. I shall see you guys later, and goodbye.